Three figures stood at the side of the road, waiting for a bus that was already late. Maria, her boyfriend Fidelis, and her cousin Defeat. They were going swimming. None of them knew that only two of them would walk home. Look at their faces. Really look. Because this is the last time all three of them will look like this. The bus wound through the hills on a dirt road that got narrower the further they went. Maria said they'd stop at her grandmother's house on the way. She knew the area. She knew where the water was. What she didn't know was what lived in it. The old woman was already outside when they arrived, standing among her flowers like she'd grown there herself. She looked up. She smiled, but there was something behind the smile, something careful. She brought them lemonade without being asked, set out cups. Through the window you could see the green hills stretching out behind them and the path that led somewhere they shouldn't go. They sat in her living room, Maria, Fidelis, Defeat, lined up on the couch while the old woman sat across from them. Defeat was making jokes. He was always making jokes. That was the thing about Defeat. He never took anything seriously. Not rules, not warnings, not the kind of places that have both. Grandmother's face changed. Her eyes went dark behind her glasses. Her mouth tightened. She leaned forward and she spoke slowly, like she was reading from something carved in stone. Never dive into the caves. Don't throw objects into the water. And do not disrespect nature. Maria looked at Fidelis. Fidelis looked at Maria. They both knew. They knew exactly who wouldn't listen. As they left, Grandmother stood in the doorway and watched them leave, one hand raised. She didn't wave, she just held it there, like a warning, frozen in the air. When the trio arrived, the pool opened up before them like something out of a dream. Blue water so deep it looked like the sky had been buried there. Rock walls rising on every side. Caves cut into the stone like open mouths. It was beautiful. Defeat didn't wait. He didn't change. He didn't think. He ran and threw himself into the water with his clothes still on, laughing the whole way down. The splash echoed off the rocks and came back wrong. Maria and Fidelis settled on the rocks, their legs dangling over the edge out in the water. Defeat was waving, grinning, shouting something they couldn't quite hear. The water held him gently, for now. Maria shouted at him to stop messing around. He laughed, said he was going to swim under the rock, said he would make it through to the other side. She told him not to. He was already going under. Bubbles, a cluster of them, rising from where he'd gone down, then fewer, then smaller, then the water went still. They stood up, called his name, called it again. The rocks gave nothing back. The water gave nothing back. Defeat was gone. Maria grabbed Fidelis by the shoulders and looked into his eyes and saw the same thing staring back at her. The understanding that something had just gone very, very wrong, and there was nothing either of them could do about it. They ran back through the trees, back up the path, back to Grandmother's door. Maria was choking on her own words. He went under. He didn't come back. He didn't come back. She held her own face like she was trying to keep it from falling apart. This was her fault. She brought him there. But grandmother didn't cry, didn't scream. She looked at Maria and said something that will stay with you. Don't you cry. If you cry, your cousin might never come back. Then she told them what was under the water, what had always been under the water. Living things, old things, things with bodies that moved like water itself. They had been there long before the rocks, long before the trees, long before anyone built a road to this place. When you break their rules, they don't warn you, they don't ask. They reach up from below and they take what they feel they're owed. They pull defeat down through the dark, past the rocks, past the roots, past the point where lights give up, deeper, into places that aren't on any map. Mermaids. But not the kind you're thinking of. These ones don't sing. They don't sit on rocks and comb their hair. They are dark. They are silent. And their eyes glow like something burning at the bottom of a well. They put him in a room. A house almost. It looked normal. A couch, curtains. He sat there, and he didn't even know he'd been taken. But if you tried to look out the window, there was nothing. Just black. Endless, heavy black. Time doesn't work the same down there. Minutes feel like hours. Hours feel like weeks. And the longer you stay, the more you start to change. Your skin, your eyes, something inside you that you can't name starts to slip away. And if you change enough, you don't come back. Not as yourself. Grandmother said there was only one way, one chance. She led them out before the sun came up, moving with a purpose that made her look 30 years younger. They were going to bring him back. Maize, wheat, sorghum, yeast, things pulled from the earth, things that ferment, things that transform, like what was happening to defeat, but in reverse. She mixed them with hands that knew exactly what they were doing, poured the mixture into a clay pot, old, decorated and heavy. Traditional beer. An offering to the things below. You don't fight them, you negotiate. They sealed the pot and they waited. Through the heat of the day, through the silence of the night. They sat with it and did not cry, did not sleep. The stars moved overhead. The pot sat still. Something inside it was working. On the last morning, they heard water. Not rain, not the river, just water. From nowhere and everywhere. And then he was there, standing in front of them, like he'd just come back from a walk. Maria threw her arms around him. She held him so tightly, she didn't notice what was on his skin. He stood in the doorway, backlit by the morning sun. His shape was right, his posture was right, but there was something about the edges of him, something that didn't quite line up with the person who had jumped into the water days ago. Grandmother pulled Maria aside, pressed a small jar into her hand. Her voice was low and steady. It's for the scales.